All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, Living in Oregon. If you are thinking about moving to the Portland metro area, you're going to want to watch this video because so many people that we talk to are looking at areas to move into, neighborhoods, suburbs, and evaluating these areas, at least in part based on what the resale value might be. What is it going to look like in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, even 15 years when you turn around to sell? In this video, we're going to look at some of the more recession-proof neighborhoods of Portland and suburbs of the Portland metro area. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Portland, Oregon. In this video, we're looking at some of the more recession-proof areas of the Portland metro area and of Portland proper that you could move into. Now, when you look at the real estate market recently, say in the last 2 or 3 years, extremely volatile. So interest rates, super crazy competition, inflationary prices, home values climbing and climbing and climbing, only to now really be starting to plateau a little bit. These market conditions are really on people's mind. This is not an extremely balanced market where you have, completely favorable conditions for sellers and for buyers. So things have shifted a lot in recent years. We've done quite a few videos on market updates and, talked a lot about what these things look like as far as what the implications are for you as a buyer, in particular relocating into the Portland metro area. If you are jumping into this experience and this process, it's really going to be important to know what's going on right now. What are the expectations going to be? And those are conversations that we have with people right out of the gate. So, as a relocation team here in Portland and in the metro area, we're talking a lot with people about how things are differing between where they're moving from and where they're moving into in the Portland metro area. And those are things that we cover, again, right away so we can set the expectation to make sure you know exactly what you're getting into. So, you got to reach out to us, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, click the link down below in the description of the video. And whether you are 1 month out, 1 year out, 2 years out, whatever it may be, we would love to have that conversation with you. But right now, we're looking at a scenario where so many people are waiting for the market to crash, or they're waiting for interest rates to drop at the very least to start taking some action. And you're never going to hear it from us that, just buy your house now, stomach the higher payment, you can refinance. Everybody's situation is different. We're never going to try to convince you that now or any time is the perfect time to buy a home. There's pros and cons in any market, but I think there is a lot of doom and gloom. The media loves to hype it up, a lot of clickbait out there, the market's crashing, the sky is falling, all of that. And yeah, there are some pretty brutal things going on in the real estate market, and it all ties back to interest rates. Now, if this is your first time to the channel, or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. So without further ado, thanks for listening to my preamble here. What are the neighborhoods and suburbs in the Portland metro area that have been least affected? All right, so we'll get number one out of the way. The area that has seen the most growth year over year is Mount Hood. So Mount Hood, east of Sandy, rural area up on the mountain. This is out Highway 26. There's all these little villages like Welch's and Rhododendron where you have a lot of second homes, vacation homes, but an increasing number of people who are living there full time, because you're really only about an hour from Portland and to anywhere in Portland. A lot of people work remotely, obviously, more and more nowadays. So being in an area like up on Mount Hood, which is gorgeous, in terms of beauty and access to outdoor activities, it really doesn't get any better. So not a huge surprise that an area like this has jumped up 6%. This is an area, it's a smaller market to evaluate up against some of the larger areas in the Portland metro area. But just kind of an interesting footnote there. Within, kind of the immediate metro area, the area that has actually seen the most growth year over year is Lake Oswego and West Lynn, so up 3.7% in terms of average sale price. And not really a surprise here. This is a more affluent area. This is an area with higher end real estate. This is an area where the median sale price is as high, or consistently the highest rather, in the Portland metro area. So I think a lot of people living in this area, a lot of people moving into this area, typically going to be a little bit more agile when it comes to weathering some of these, economic conditions. In this case, interest rates, and it's, by many measures, a very lovely area, whether it's Lake Oswego or West Linn, consistently ranked again as one of the best places to live, if not the best, depending on what you're looking at, place to live in the Portland metro area. And the next on this list is Northwest Washington County. So this is an area that is north of Beaverton, west of Portland, by and large up in the West Hills. This is primarily going to be Cedar Mill and Bethany. There's some smaller neighborhoods and communities like Bonnie Slope up here. This is an area that borders Forest Heights and the West Hills in Multnomah County. So very similar as far as what you get in terms of West Hills living overall. A higher priced area too, definitely. A more affluent area on average across the board, although you probably get a little bit more variety than you might get in Lake Oswego or West Linn. But when you look at a community like this, Cedar Mill, Bethany, I think folks here are going to be a little bit more agile, again, like a West Linn and a Lake Oswego. But when we go down this list, that's not necessarily the same dynamic. It's not necessarily the case as far as being in a more affluent area. Next on the list is Hillsborough and Forest Grove, up 0.6%, so basically stayed the same, but didn't come down. So, that's still noteworthy. When we're looking at Hillsborough, the largest suburb in the Portland metro area, next to Gresham, one of the highest populations in terms of suburbs in the Portland metro area, all the way west. This is the Silicon Forest. So this is an area where you have a much larger variety in terms of what you can get as far as housing. You have some nice new construction, especially like in Reed's Crossing. You have some nice upscale developments. You have some luxury real estate, but you also have a lot that is just middle of the road. You also have a lot that is really skewing more on the affordable side in terms of like price per square foot. Now there's older homes, there's newer homes, there's areas in more dense, busy areas, or homes in busier areas. There's homes in more kind of private suburban areas, so you really get a big range here. But I think when you look at this being, again, the Silicon Forest, this is an area that has a very high volume of high-paying jobs. So the economy, kind of the local microeconomy in Hillsborough, is going to be, pretty good for folks who, moving into this area. I think when a lot of people are moving to the Portland metro area, pretty good chance they are working at a company based in this area. So they're looking at this area first, or this is, definitely high on the list. And so that's going to keep the demand a little bit higher than some areas that don't offer the same opportunities necessarily. All right, next you have the corridor of Tigard, Tualatin, Wilsonville, and Sherwood, kind of this Highway 99 and west of I-5 corridor. This is an area that increased 0.2%, so again, more or less stayed the same. Very, very nice area by many measures. Does offer quite a bit of variety, especially when you look at an area like Tigard, for example. Tigard is going to be a lot like Beaverton, but when you look at Tualatin, Wilsonville, and Sherwood, these are areas that are really dense suburban areas with a lot of residential developments, master plan communities, where you have very private developments, a couple ways into a neighborhood and only a couple ways out, so not a lot of through traffic, very, very kind of family oriented, an area where a lot of folks with a family would gravitate toward. Wilsonville and Sherwood being a little bit further away from Portland, but you get newer. And you can be a little more affordable here in terms of what you get, like price per square foot. Tualatin is going to be pretty similar. Tualatin's going to be a little bit closer to Portland, but this whole corridor through here, no surprise that this is going to be a pretty recession-proof market because of what it offers, because of the type and style of living that it offers, compared to areas that are a little more of a mixed bag. Okay, slightly out of order here, but I can't not mention Yamhill County, 0.9% growth in terms of average sale price. And Yamhill County is that Highway 99 West corridor continuing south of Sherwood. So we talked about, Tigard down to Tualatin, down to Wilsonville, and then Sherwood. If you continue, I guess if you're looking at the video here, if you continue southwest along this Highway 99 West corridor, you get into areas like Newburgh and McMinnville. You get into wine country. Very nice, very good mix of small town living, suburban feeling, but also scenic rural areas, rolling hills. Again, a lot of wineries and pumpkin patches and Christmas tree farms and some of the agritourism stuff that you can get in a lot of the Portland metro area. That's all going to be there in Yamhill County. Now you're going to be 45 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour away from Portland, so you're definitely further away. But like a lot of what we talked about with Mount Hood, I think a lot of people are looking to get out of busier, denser areas, looking to get away from the city a little bit, whether it be for cost of living, they want more privacy, safety, potentially, I guess, could be a concern. But with the ability to work remote or only be in the office from time to time, no surprise that an area like Yamhill County is really kind of holding steady. People are still willing to pay 2021, 2022 prices and pay that extra $500, $700, $1,000 a month in terms of a mortgage payment. Okay, a couple more to note that we're on the negative side, but still really right about even as far as the average sale price. Beaverton and Aloha down 0.8%. So Beaverton is really the area that we get asked about the most. It is so close to Portland, has a ton to offer as far as things to do, a lot of great entertainment as far as dining and breweries and things like that, a lot of good kind of like family entertainment as well. So it has a really good mix of having a bustling, busy feel, being close to the city so you can get into Portland as often as you want in, as little as 15, maybe even like 12 minutes, depending on where you live, but offers a really nice suburban feel with a lot of the Beaverton neighborhoods, like areas like Tualatin, like what you can get in areas like Wilsonville and Sherwood. You can get a lot of that in Beaverton, but you get also a wider range. So you get older homes, older communities, a little more character, or a different character, I guess you could say, than you can get in some of the newer suburbs. In Beaverton, you can get a lot of mid-century modern, a lot of homes and neighborhoods that are just a little bit more mature and offer a different aesthetic and a different dynamic than some of the newer communities that you would get, again, in like a Tualatin, some of Tigard too, for sure, but Wilsonville, Sherwood, and over in West Lynn too. And then really the last area that was more or less unscathed, or has been so far this year, is Northeast Portland, down 1.2%. So that's something that can fluctuate. If we're just looking at, 0.5% or 1%, up or down, it can change really month over month. So if you're down just 1%, I'm going to say that considering the market conditions right now, this is an area that is really, really holding its value. So Northeast Portland, really a wide variety. I think it's the largest quadrant in terms of land mass. So there are areas that are far out, away from the city. There are areas that are not necessarily considered to be the nicest, some areas that are not necessarily considered to be the safest. But then you have some of the oldest, coolest, most Portland looking neighborhoods, in all of Portland proper, in areas like Laurelhurst, in areas like Irvington and Sabin and Beaumont, Wilshire, and Grant Park and Alameda. I mean, this little corridor through there in particular, as cool of a neighborhood as you can get objectively, just driving around this area. The architecture, a lot of wide streets, you have tree-lined streets, big, beautiful trees. You have little neighborhood coffee shops, on the corner, and little bars and restaurants kind of scattered throughout. So really cool neighborhood entertainment, great parks. Not really a huge surprise necessarily, but there are things like that, areas like that, neighborhoods like that you can get throughout Portland proper, in areas where home values have come down quite a bit. So I think you would really have to dig into a more nuanced discussion as to why Northeast has more or less sustained its value relative to some other quadrants in Portland. But on the other hand, it's not necessarily a surprise because of what Northeast Portland offers. When we look at these areas, really a variety. There's some areas that are just objectively upscale and nicer and, more luxury real estate, higher end, whatever adjective you want to associate with that. There's definitely that aspect of it, but there's areas here that are more middle of the road. There's areas here that really skew more on the affordability side of things, or the affordable side of things, when you look at what you can get as a whole in the Portland metro area. So Lake Oswego, West Lynn, Northeast Portland to some degree, also Northwest Washington County, these are a little more upscale. But when we look at Tigard, Tualatin, Wilsonville, Sherwood, when we look at Beaverton and Aloha and Hillsborough, all the way out to Forest Grove, and then, being a little bit outside this metro area and urban growth boundary, like, up on in some of those Mount Hood villages, or, down in Yamhill County. I mean, these are areas where you don't have to spend nearly as much as you would in other parts of the Portland metro area in terms of what you can get for your dollar. Some of these areas, cost of living is going to be a little bit more affordable, for example, too. And these are areas that are really holding their value. Now, what are some of the areas that got hit the most? Kind of surprisingly, Columbia County, which is north of Portland, up the Columbia River into Scappoose, into St. Helens, at least those two being the two towns that are closest to Portland, where you could live in Scappoose or St. Helens and commute to Portland, no problem, get into Portland from time to time. Columbia County's down 7.2%. When you look at Columbia County, I think you could draw some comparison to a Yamhill County in terms of its proximity to the metro area, but being a little more rural, offering kind of a small town living, that aspect of things. I think somebody looking at Yamhill County could be interested in Columbia County, but again, there's this huge discrepancy where Yamhill County is up 1%, Columbia County down 7.2%. So kind of interesting there. And then if we look at the rest of Portland, like I was saying, Northeast Portland is only down 1%, but West Portland and Southeast Portland, again, parts of Portland that have so much to offer and that have neighborhoods and communities that are super, super desirable, very popular, down 5%. So West Portland, which being Southwest Portland and Northwest Portland, as well as Southeast Portland, down 5%. And then when we look at North Portland is down 6.7%. So, Northeast Portland is right next to North Portland. Northeast Portland is right next to Southeast Portland as well, as far as, these quadrants, these areas that are bordering each other. Yet these other areas are down so much compared to Northeast Portland. So a little bit of a head scratcher. Again, these things can swing month over month, but we're looking year over year, and we're looking at a time where the market conditions have done a complete 180, right? So I think, looking at these areas in the context of, okay, I'm going to move to Portland. Maybe I have to buy in the next 3 months because my job is relocating me, or I got a new job. I don't necessarily want to buy right now because interest rates are so high, but if I have to buy, where would be the best place to purchase where my home value and my investment is going to be at least as safeguarded as possible? These are those areas. We've heard it recently. We heard it a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm just waiting for the market to crash to jump in. Now, we're looking at pretty much a 180 in terms of market conditions overall from what it was like last year, especially 2 years ago. And the market hasn't crashed. So what we've seen is basically the market hit a brick wall, and things have completely come to a halt in terms of the momentum and the growth and the speed and the competition that things were moving at, again, even really 12 months ago, back in 2022. With everything that has happened, with interest rates going up into 7% consistently, up over 8% recently, and homes taking a lot longer to sell, the average sale price in the Portland metro area is only down 3%. So, I think things are just about as bad as they can get. Of course, interest rates can continue to climb. I don't think there's an expectation that that's going to be the case. I do think that even if they went into the mid 8s, the high 8s, even into the 9s, that there's still enough demand out there where the good homes, in good condition, on a good street, in a good neighborhood, that has a good combination of desirable attributes, is still going to sell relatively quickly. And so all of this demand, all of this pent-up demand, I think a lot of people are looking for more or less properties that match the same criteria or a combination of certain things. And again, there's just enough people out there where if rates even go up a little bit more, we don't expect prices to come down all that much because inventory is historically low. Now, why is inventory historically low? There has been a severe building shortage for at least the last 15 years. In particular, with the housing recession back in 2008, everything really hit a brick wall, right? And housing starts and builders completely stopped building. And it took years, 3, 4, 5 years from that period to really start to build some momentum. And if homes aren't being built today, we're not going to satisfy demand for housing in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. So everything that happens a decade ago, there's this lagging indicator of what supply is going to look like in terms of meeting demand, some duration out in the future. So we're really feeling the effects of that now. But when interest rates went down in 2020, 2021, 2022, a flood of buyers hit the market. Housing all of a sudden became, so much more affordable for so many more people in terms of what they could buy, or people who maybe couldn't buy previously now could afford to. So anything that got listed, any property that got listed was flying off the shelf like that, and that kept inventory extremely low. So, a house went up for sale, it sold, for every one house there was 5 offers, 10 offers, so, that supply and demand was really out of balance, keeping inventory low. Now, inventory has gone up a little bit with interest rates going up, but it's not because there's a flood of new homes hitting the market. It's because buyers have been hit so much that the buyer demand and affordability in particular has taken a lot of people out of the market. And so the properties that do get listed aren't getting 5 offers, 10 offers, let alone 1 offer, in the first week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. I mean, the total time on the market for homes this year is up 78%. So, that's almost double the average time on market compared to even a year ago. So that is an enormous increase. And what that has led to is not a market crash in terms of prices, but a market crash in terms of sales volume. So closed sales, the number of homes that have been sold in the Portland metro area is down 30% year over year. And that's really where we've seen the biggest crash, is just inactivity. But when you look at the balance of supply and demand, what we're seeing today, again, with such a volatile market and affordability being hit so much, prices haven't come down. So it's not incredibly likely, forecasting out a year, 2 years, 3 years, nobody knows what's going to happen, obviously, but if prices haven't come down yet, there's not an expectation that they're going to come down anytime in the near future. And obviously, market conditions have shifted quite a bit. There's actually a lot of silver linings, and there's actually a lot of benefits for buyers right now outside of the affordability piece. We can talk more about that. And there's actually ways to get your interest rate down. There's a lot of ways we can get creative in terms of negotiating with the seller, or, talking to your lender about what are some programs, what are some ways, or what are some things that we can do to get that interest rate down, going into the home shopping experience. So if you want to talk more about what those strategies are, if you want to talk more about the Portland market, dig into some of these areas a little bit more, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, click the link down below in the description of the video, schedule a Zoom call with us, and on that call, we can talk about your budget and your timeline and the areas that are going to fit your needs best, and really put together a game plan for you. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. And if you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.